there, my name is Miranda and welcome to another video. So today's going to be my June reading wrap up as well as my somewhat planned out July TBR. So start first with what I read in June. I only finished 4 books. I hit a little bit of a reading slump. I was getting very done once more with the e-reader and I just wasn't inspired to read because of it. I also read one book that was a very big disappointment to me. It was one I mentioned in my mid-year freakout video, and because of the book I wasn't very impressed and I wasn't in a mood to read for a little while because of how unimpressed I was. Thankfully, after I finished that one, I read 2 books that I absolutely loved, so the reading slump is sort of gone now. Hopefully that means I'll read more in July, as I have a bit of an ambitious TBR. I'm sorry if you hear any noise. One of my neighbors is doing some construction, so you'll be hearing a construction noise on and off, possibly. And of course the cars. So the first book I finished in June was Rebel Spring by Morgan Rhodes. This is the second book in the Fallen Kingdom series. And again, I love this book. I gave it a 4 out of 5 stars and I'm still enjoying this series. I'm really excited to see where it goes. The second book, however, did have a couple very odd romances that started up, a couple really odd romantic relationships that are being hinted at as possibilities that I'm a little confused by the majority of them. However, there's still a lot in this book I'm absolutely loving. I'm loving the different plots that are going on. I'm loving the different characters that we have. So I'm very excited to see where the rest of the series goes. I can't say too much about the book as it is the second in a series, but I will say that for the Fallen Kingdoms series as a whole, it seems to be a YA version of Game of Thrones almost. Just very simmered down, but it still has a lot of characters, a lot of point of views, and a lot of different storylines that are connected in some way. So I'm still enjoying it, a little hesitant about the possible romantic relationships that are going on in it. Other than that, I'm absolutely loving it. In particular, I'm rooting for the character that is probably sometimes the bad guy, but not always, because he does have a bit of a moral compass. That's Magnus. And I really do like his adopted sister, Lucia, because I'm loving how her storyline's going. And I liked Cleo a lot more by the end of this book. The second book I read, and I was so disappointed with this one. I was so hoping I was gonna love it because of what the book is about, and that was Winter Song by S.J. Jones. I gave this book a 2 out of 5 stars. I'm still a little disappointed in it. I actually might lower that rating still. It wasn't necessarily a bad book, it was just one I really did not enjoy as I read it. The writing style was way too whimsical for me. I didn't enjoy the plot line, I didn't like the characters, and even the Goblin King, who I was so excited was in this book, fell completely flat for me. For those of you who don't know what Winter Song is, the book is about a young girl whose sister is kidnapped down to the Underground Kingdom to be made the bride of the Goblin King, and she sets down to rescue her and instead becomes the Goblin Queen herself, as she's forced to marry the Goblin King. So like a lot of people who were fans or have watched the movie Labyrinth, they probably saw this book and thought, oh, it's maybe a bit of a Labyrinth retelling, which it seems in a way it kind of was, but there were elements in it that made me think of the Phantom of the Opera quite a bit, which makes me wonder if she may have come across the DeviantArt comics about the main characters of both being roommates with each other. Like Jareth is roommates with Eric from Phantom of the Opera, and Sarah is roommates with, what's the name of the girl from Phantom of the Opera? Christine? And like all their shenanigans and whatnot. Like, it was nothing like that. But the fact that it seemed like both of those 2 stories were being put together makes me wonder if maybe she came across it and that's how the author got the idea. Speculating entirely, but when I first started realizing it had the 2, I got very excited by the prospect that maybe the author read and enjoyed these online comics. But yeah, no, I didn't like this book. It really wasn't my kind of read. However, a friend of mine back home absolutely adored it. So I do know that it is a book for some people, it just wasn't a book for me. So I would highly recommend this book if you really want a Labyrinth and Phantom of the Opera crossover, and if you want a book that has a lot of magical, fantastical elements, and a lot of musical learning and terminology. I got really confused now and again. I had to look up some of the words because they were in German, and I had no idea what they were talking about. I had an idea because of the context, but I didn't actually know. And I don't always like it when that happens. There was a glossary, but because I was reading an ebook, I couldn't flip back and forth to it very easily. At least I don't know how I can on my e-reader. I'm not the best with technology. So yeah, it just wasn't my favorite read. I'm still rather disappointed by it, but I got through it. I'm not gonna read the sequel. The next book I read, and this is another book in the series, and this is a series I finished the first original 3 books of the series. I haven't read the spin-off, so I was confused while reading this particular book, but I started the sequel series, and that is Shadow Study by Maria V. Snyder. So I love the study series. I even gave this book a 5 out of 5 stars. However, I did have a couple problems, but not because of the book itself. I haven't read the spin-off series after the study series, so the Glass series that has Opal as the main character. I haven't read that yet. So there was a lot that happened in this book that I didn't quite understand because I hadn't read that series yet. So before I continue in the second half of the study series, I will have to read the Glass series, which I'm not mad about. I'm very excited to read the Glass series as well. It's just I don't know where to get the rest of the books until my friend comes back from summer vacation. Yeah, no, my town library doesn't have them, and my online library back home has the second and the third book in the Glass study series available. They don't, however, have the first book. Yeah, no, it was the stupidest thing I saw. It was just, I couldn't believe it. They have the second and the third, but they don't have the first. Like, come on, people. Come on. So I don't want to say too much of this because it is the 4th in the entirety of the Chronicles of Ixia, or the study series. This is the second half of the study series. That's also called the Soulfinder series. So I don't want to say too much of it so I don't give away anything from the original 3 books because they are phenomenal and I really think you should read them. But I will say that you are getting favorite characters again. You have Yelena, you have Valak, you have Janko, you have Ari, and there's a couple new characters that are actually really enjoyable, and I'm really excited that they're in here. And unlike the original study series that was entirely in Yelena's point of view, this one has 3 point of views. Yelena, of course, Valak, and Janko. And I'm so excited to have Janko's perspective because he's one of my absolute favorites in this series. So yeah, no, love this series, very excited to continue, but I'll have to wait until I finish the Glass series, and then I'll probably reread this and continue with the rest of the 2 books. And then the last book I read this month, and I finished it just yesterday, was Wind Witch by Susan Dennard, and again, another 5 out of 5 star read for me. I'm really loving the Witchland series, and I'm so excited to read Sight Witch and Blood Witch, but I'm gonna have to wait still for Blood Witch. Wind Witch picked up directly where Truth Witch leaves off, which made me even more excited because it meant there wasn't a big time gap, which can happen between some books in a series. This one had just started immediately after. And all the characters are now split up, so you had multiple different stories going. You had 3 major areas with 4 different perspectives. And there was an added perspective in this book, Merrick's sister, and that I really loved because it gave me a different view of her as a character, because just viewing her through Merrick made me think of her one way, but having her perspective, I now view her completely differently. So again, can't say too much as this is the second book in a series, but if you want to know what Truth Witch is about, just see the wrap up for the last month when I read Truth Witch, and also I'll be leaving a link to these 4 books down below for their Goodreads pages if you are interested in reading them. So that is the end of my June wrap up, and now we're on to my July TBR, and I have a little bit of an ambitious TBR, especially since I have a couple books I'm buddy reading with a friend back home. We're doing another reading challenge of sorts. We're trying to finish so many books by the end of July before I head back for a visit. And then I just have some books I really want to finish before some sequels come out and before other books by this author comes out. So yeah, let's have a look at this. I have just a mass pile of books on my bed. They're just all over the place. A couple of them are going to be on my e-reader as well, so I won't be able to showcase those ones. So first and foremost, I have A Torch Against the Night by Sabaa Tahir. I've already started it. I'm really not too far in. I'm on page 40, and that's chapter, oh dear, what chapter is it? Chapter 6. So I'm buddy reading this with my friend back home. She has her copy as well. She just read Ember in the Ashes, loved it same as I did, so we're reading this together, and we're absolutely just loving this series. We're so excited to read the next book, Rebirth the Gate, very soon after, especially since this is the UK edition. I actually bought this for my friend, however I did tell her I would be reading it because I don't really want to wait for the 3rd book to come out in paperback to read it, and the wait list for the library is pretty long. But yeah, no, first I gotta finish this. I probably won't take too long to finish it. I'm already kind of reading it through it really, really fast because I'm loving how this story is starting out. And again, this book picks up directly where Ember in the Ashes ended, and that's something I actually really like I like it when the sequel in a series or the next book in a series picks up directly where the previous book ended, because then it just feels like you're just reading it like a nice continuation. I don't mind time gaps. I have absolutely no issue with them. I just really, really like it when a book picks up directly where the one before it left off. Next up, I have the next two books in the Grisha-verse trilogy. So I have books 2 and 3. I actually picked these up at my town library. I was actually very excited to find out they had these because I didn't really want to read them on the e-reader again, especially since I accidentally put a few too many books on hold at once that then all started coming in at once. So I had to return these before I had a chance to actually get to them. But there wasn't a wait list for them here, so I got them pretty quick. And I can renew them, which is even better. So I'm buddy reading the second book with my friend back home. She has also read Shadow and Bone, loved it. So we are buddy reading the sequel. Don't think we're going to buddy read the third book though, as she doesn't own it yet. And I already have it in my grasps and gotta finish it before I leave for my visit home because I can't have any library books sitting in my room. Yeah, no, that's a big no for me. I will not leave library books sitting alone when I'm not here for an extended length of time. It's just rude. You might as well return them so someone else can read them. Next I have A Court of Thorns and Roses by Sarah J. Maas, which I'm still unsure if I'm actually gonna get to. I do kind of want to read it. I have no interest in Throne of Glass series, but I've heard that A Court of Thorns and Roses is a lot better of a series, so I am still interested in reading it. So I picked it up again from my town library, and I thought I'd give it a try. It's not high my priority though, so if I don't get to it, I'm not going to be heartbroken. Next I have A Gathering of Shadows by V.E. Schwab. So I read Darker Shade of Magic a couple months ago. I have the second book. I also have the third book. But it's being used to help hold up my camera, so I can't hold it up for you, but it's there, I promise. So I have the second and the third book in the Darker Shade of Magic series, and I'm hoping to finish both if possible before I leave for my visit home. If not, I'm hoping to at least get the second book done before I go home for a visit. I already have 5 books, and I haven't even gotten to the ones on my e-reader because I have books everywhere. Well, there's 2 here for sure that I know I want to finish them for July, so I'm just going to include those as well. And that is Vicious by V.E. Schwab, as the sequel Vengeful is coming out in September, so I want to read this before the sequel comes out. And then Children of Blood and Bone by Tomi Adeyemi, because I've been promising myself I was going to read this for I think 2 months now, and I really should get to it at this point. So yeah, I have 7 books on my TBR. Oh god. I'm not counting A Reaper at the Gate, as I'm not reading that until August. I already know I'm not reading that until August. But I have 7 books I'm hoping to read in July. I'm unsure if I'm actually going to get to that. Are my chances looking good? Do you think I stand a chance of finishing all 7 of these? So yeah, I don't know if I'm going to get to all of these. I'll probably get to 4 or 5 of them, especially since I also have some books on my e-reader I'm hoping to get to. In particular, I have Sight Witch by Susan Dennard out. That is the next book in the Witchland series. And I'm really excited to continue the series, so it's kind of prioritized over a couple of these. But yeah, no, I will see what I manage to get to. Actually, I think I might have 8 books because I don't have Conjuring a Light in here. That book's being used, as I said, to hold up my camera. Oh dear. Oh god. I'm trying to take a thumbnail and it's not going well. Well, I'll see how this goes. Probably the most ambitious TBR I've ever made in my life, considering I usually never make TBRs. Although I will also have one for August because I'm hoping to join in on the news examination. But I still don't know what books I'm going to have for it, as I no longer remember what I have on my bookshelves back home, and I'm also hoping to get a few books out from the library that I cannot get EU copies for, and the library here doesn't have. So that's not going to be decided until I'm actually at home and can see my collection once more. This is what happens when you haven't been home in almost a year. You forget everything that's in your room. Absolutely everything. Thank you so much for watching. This has been my June reading wrap-up and my July TBR. A rather ambitious TBR based around too many books that I really, really want to read, and I'm trying to pick out from the massive pile of my TBR list. Yeah, and I should probably consider maybe narrowing it down a little, but I won't. If you'd like to see my progress, you can check my social media links down below, which includes my Goodreads link. And if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. And if you want to see more videos by me, both travel and bookish related, please click that subscribe button. And I'll see you next time. Bye!